So here we are again, silly old man sitting in a cold shed, getting to grips with this mess, this modular. Yeah. Well, I think what I've got somewhere in here about 8 bars of awesomeness. Now, if I can repeat that 8 bars and just drop things in and out for about half an hour, then it's a win, I think. Or perhaps potentially, I hope to be able to find some variation in changing that. The way I tend to use variation and change is that I have a thing, I bring that along, I start playing the thing, and then I break it. So I do a bit of a build up. Hey, I've got a bit of a groove going, and then it's like, well, that's kind of all I've got. So it's 5 minutes. I've got another while to do yet. So I'll just start playing and breaking and changing things on the fly. But then that's part of the thing, because there's lots in here that I could potentially save, I think. But that's not really anything that I've been particularly interested in. Like, I don't actually know how to save something on the PAMs. I don't know how to save anything on ASQ1 or anywhere else for that matter. I still can't work out how to save the Pico drums. I'm forever having to dial in the same 2 sounds that I use all the time rather than somehow saving them to be the default. I mean, this sort of information is available. It is out there, but I don't know. I just have better things to do in my life, So there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of possibility. I'm still struggling with the ASQ1, not because it's in any way bad. It's just every time I find something for it to do, I then do that and enjoy it, and then find a different way of doing it that incorporates something else. So it's like I get an idea here, and then I try to play on that idea in something that's a bit more modular, because this is very straight-laced. Well, only, again, because I probably don't know it deep enough yet. There are probably hidden avenues of fabulousness in there. But what it does do is brilliant. But like I say, I keep filling it up, and then it ends up in other places. So will I ultimately be taking this or not is the question I am going with at the moment. I mean, I've quite enjoyed getting the hang of this, because it is nice. Because what I found in the last sort of day or so of I haven't had a whole lot of time, but a little bit of time and then come away, a little bit of time. I couldn't work out how to do a bass line. I seem to lose my ability to do your standard oscillator filter thing. It's like everything's just too weird, and I can't do. I just want to make a dum dum boop dum dum boop type. I can't even do it. Kind of bass line, an acidy bass line. And I've lost the ability to do that, but hopefully I will find that. I think I might find that again. But I think what I've got at the moment is a number of different textures that I can use, because I had a conversation with Steve last night, and talking about how you play with someone, how you jam with another modular person. And what we've both found in doing that is that you need very little, really. Because if there's too much, ends up just being too overwhelming, too many things going on at once. You only really want to play with one thing, let the other person play with one thing and see how they go. Then perhaps introduce something else. And so the other person does. And then perhaps close that down and move into something else. You're not going to have 4 or 5 layers of stuff, probably, going on at one time. And so my original thinking of using this here was probably right. It's just that I don't feel I haven't nailed it down enough to fit it into here. I've got a splattering of ideas which need different things, and although I could strip it down to just 2 or 3, having 4 or 5 just feels safer to me. The other thing is that I've actually got 3 gigs going on. I've got tomorrow night at the EMOM, the open mic, in the Rumsey Wells in Norwich, if you're about. I'm going to be playing for like 15 minutes there, which I'm seeing as kind of a warm-up. But for that, it's just me, so I need more than a couple of things, I think. And then I've got the jam during the day event at Synth East, where I'll be playing against a randomised other person. And so I need a couple of ideas for that. So that would suit a minimal thing. But then in the evening when I'm playing with Steve, which is a slightly longer set, I'm not going to want to do the same thing again. I'm going to want to vary it, if you see what I mean. So to do all of that, it feels like I need a few choices, a few possibilities. Now, I don't know whether I've nailed it completely yet, but I've definitely got some interesting things going on that I've enjoyed tremendously, and hopefully I won't tire of by the time the weekend comes round. So let me talk you through what I have, I suppose. First of all, let's just recap a little bit in that I solved a couple of problems. What were those? I solved a couple of problems. First one was resetting, because I seem to have got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequences. I don't know why. I've got 5 sequences sequencing, and I've got a lot more rhythm going on than I usually have. And what I do, my method of clocking is I have something which generates a clock. It's often the varigate. It may be something else, and I take that clock, I stick it in a clock divider and into a mult, and then that goes everywhere else, which is great. Everything stays in time, or stays in divisions of that time, and that works. What doesn't work, however, is getting it in time in the first place. So I'm forever like starting my drums and starting something else, and they're just off. And so I tend, or have done in the past up until now, just unplugged the clock into the thing that's slightly off and plugged it in again, and unplugged it, plugged it in again. If I do that a few times, it usually finds the right step, finds the right groove, or sometimes it finds an opposite groove, which is, interesting, I suppose. But with this many sequences, I was finding it really hard to do my manual method of replugging the clock to make that work. So I reached out to the internet and I got lots of advice back. Not all of it makes sense, I have to say, but the idea is that you use the reset input on all these sequences, and that sort of returns it to step 1 all at the same time. Apparently reset is a bit weird in that some work in different ways, which is not helpful, but as far as I can work out, that seems to work. There was also talk about PAMs having some special features for that, but I couldn't work that out. What I can do is create a slow pulse. So after 2 bars or whatever, it then does a pulse, and then that is being used as multed to reset everything. That kind of works, and everything is in time, and it's like, oh wow, everything's in time. Oh, I didn't realize that my groove was actually completely wrong because I was writing the bass line alongside a badly clocked thing. Anyway, but everything gets redone ultimately. The only issue I have with all of that is that my microgrids doesn't behave, sadly. It goes along, kicking along, yeah, this is good, this is great. And then it goes, oh, I'm going to trip up. I'm just going to trip up, and I'm just going to dock myself just slightly out of sync. And you go, what was that for? What did I do? Did I twang a cable? Did I wobble it or something? I don't know. It just does it. It does it without me touching it. It does it when I try to do a thing. And then it doesn't do it at all for ages. So that's a flipping mystery. So what I've done to combat that is I'm sending that a reset far more often, like every bar, I think. Because the grids, as far as I can work out, has quite a small loop to it. Because you're doing variation through modulation as opposed to through the length of its pattern. And so that way it catches it more often, so I don't have to sit there for 2 bars while it's trying, while it's out of sync. Yeah, so that was a thing. The other thing was the Zaps. Now, I played with this for the first time in the last video that I did, and I think I pretty much said that this is great, this is a lot of fun, look at this, it creates like one sound, you can play with it, oh, it's really good. And I had a great time playing with that one sound and editing that on the fly and stuff like that, and that was awesome. Then I saw a video that Jeremy Redmeans Recording put out where it was a completely different animal. And I went, oh, right, because, you know me, I don't like to read up on things or anything. I mean, I remember writing about it when it first announced, but that was like 2 years ago, so I can't remember what it was supposed to be about. But ultimately, what Zaps is about is that it's a linear drum machine, in that it is mono, you only get one sound at a time, but each bank of of sounds has like 12 sounds in it. And you can select those sounds over CV. So essentially you get a line of changing noises, that kind of thing, which is actually great, fantastic. So rather than just having like one noise and then moving to another noise, it's got all of these sounds going on at once, making it a fantastic percussion module. You just pump stuff into it and it comes up with these fantastic things. Now, I've unexpectedly found that it's brilliant with a stochastic inspiration generator. I was just on the edge of kind of pulling that out, thinking, I don't know that I'm actually going to use it. I've got other things going on. And while it is a great thing to have in jams, I wasn't, I don't know. I don't think it was like one thing too many. So this is one of these occasions where, first of all, I got the ASQ1 going into it, because what you can do is you can set those 12 sounds all to be a different note on a scale. Annoyingly, it's not like that by default. And again, I haven't worked out how to save things, so I'm having to go to the settings to change that every time I turn it on. By the by. So originally, before I worked out you could do that, I was trying to work out how to write a pattern on here in order to select the different sounds. Yeah, are you with me? Then it shrunk it down into being chromatic over a single scale, and then this became perfect. It was like a little drum machine. Boing. Ace. So I was playing with that thinking, well, that's great, but I'm still only using this entire big chunky module here to do one thing. And maybe I can shift this to something else. And then I went back to the stochastic inspiration generator, because it has essentially a scale there with these sliders that dictate the probability of that going. So what I can do is stick up the sliders, and now it's generating its own randomizing stochastic patterns based upon which ones I've put forward, and also the rhythm as well. Perfect. Absolutely bloody perfect. Really, really good. So those two are a match made in heaven. Absolutely awesome. So I'm going to keep those two going. Otherwise, let me take you through my sounds quickly, just to show you what I've got going on at the moment. And then, this is probably going to be my last video, I think, because tomorrow night I've got the gig, and then we're into it, man. So this is probably going to be the last time I talk about it. So I'll just tell you what's in here. I'm then going to spend the rest of the evening jamming. I might, record a jam later. Who knows? See how it's going. And then tomorrow it'll just be practice. And I think what I'll do is there's just some things I need to work out. I need to work out, I'm using all of the PAM's outputs, which is quite incredible, really. They're all mostly being clocks. I've got one Euclid going over there. But what did I ever do before I had it? That's the weird thing I can't work out. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I want to just sort of learn some of the bits better. Little bits and pieces, tweak some stuff. I might even pull something out. At the moment, I'm not using these two. I was using them as kind of an underlying drone at one point. I don't know that we need it. Or do we? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe we do. But I would quite like to get the data bender in there, just as an additional weird thing to have a period of weirdness, because that's always fun. So is this going to come out? Is that going to come out? Maybe I just reduce that down to a smaller filter, maybe even a smaller oscillator. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so what do I have going on at the moment? I think I'm in record over there. So on channel 1, I've got this. So this is my crazy chicken, 6 eyes, going to me pizza. A little bit high pitched at the moment. And that's going through a stasis leak delay over here. But it's great how it can produce these interesting melodies. I've killed it. That's interesting. So I have room in the pizza to give it some timbre changes, some wave folding. And this is actually going through a low pass gate, just to give it some bleepy bloopiness. So that's some background, good at any time. Channel 2. Oh yeah, I worked out how to do the bass line. So this is coming from the ASQ1. This is currently what it's being used for as much as anything, is just this. And it does make me think that, yeah, you know, I could swap it for the 8-step sequencer. But then 16 steps is nice. This is 16 steps. Just gives it that somewhere else to go, do you know what I mean? But it is a lot of HP to do this one thing. But then, you know, halfway through the set I can use it to do something else, because the great thing is that you can go in and then change it. Where is this going? Okay, let's go in there. So if I go back to my sequencer mode. Oh, that was terrible. There we go, it's better. But it's quite nice that you can change it and evolve the sequence. I kind of need an undo. I wonder if there's an undo. So yeah, there's a lot of scope in there, and I've got the molten what's-it going through with an AFO and an envelope. Then channel 3. Now I've got the surface. I wasn't using this for a long time, but then I decided to, you know, it's there, let's see what I can do with it. And also I've got the touring machine, which the 6 eyes has sort of replaced to a degree. So I'm playing with the 6 eyes instead of the touring machine for the pizza. So I thought, well, the touring machine is great for the surface because it has this pulse which isn't every note, and I think the surface really benefits from having a slower pulse to its actual melody. So I've got that going through there, and that's going through the Nautilus, and it's just making a beautiful thing. So if I want to at any point turn on a beautiful thing or reduce down to a beautiful thing, I've got that going on, you know, and I think that's nice, and that's a fun thing to play with at any time. It's good by itself, really. Maybe add a little bit of that in. That's my ambient side. Anyway, I'll get carried away. Then, got the polycinematic, I've got quite back into this. So at the moment I've got this being triggered by the pans, which is giving it that rhythm. So I can get in there and change that at any point, which is, you know, quite nice. Got a little bit of modulation on the filter. But again, that really feels like it wants a little bit of something to come in with it, like that. Does my bass line fit at the moment? That's not my bass line. Missed it. So yeah, you know, that's pleasant, that's nice, that could do the job. There's plenty of things I can play with in there. Yeah, you could nod your head to that all day. So I've got my Pico drums there, just doing a clap and a hi-hat. I could change it to a snare, I'm not sure yet. I flip-flop between liking a snare and a clap. Don't know about you. And then I've got this Zaps. Which is just superb. So I can change the bank, getting the hang of doing all these sort of bits. And then I can sort of take the performance mode over the top, which sometimes has a great effect, sometimes doesn't. And I've also got that running through a rat distortion, which is just nice. Something like that. So that's sort of where I am right now. That's sort of where I am. You know, it's feeling okay. It's not feeling particularly weird or experimental, which I'm okay with, but I would like a little bit more of that in there. So I'm going to, I'm going to keep running with it, and keep making changes and adjustments to see if I can find a little bit more craziness. But also, as I say, I'm trying to create a starting point, a point where I can give you like 5 to 10 minutes of rhythmic, pleasing, happy music, which can then go into different places from there and back again. Maybe. Maybe something along those lines. I mean, obviously, it's going to change dramatically once I'm sat against somebody else and they've got other stuff coming in. But at the moment, it's feeling like it's got something going on. I'm always confused over tempo and multiplication, whether it's better to have a higher tempo and then more clock divisions, because at the moment I've got lots of things running at 8 times and 4 times. Maybe I should just run the whole thing faster, and then I can, do you know what I mean? You get stuck into these quandaries. But otherwise, is there anything in here that I'm not really using? Not really using the Batumi. I don't necessarily know why that is. I need to do a bit more modulation, because that's what can bring the chaos, isn't it? So I need to think about that a little bit. Maybe use any spare outputs on the PAMs to introduce some modulation. But also, what I need to depatch and repatch in a bit more of a sensible way, so that I know what everything is doing and where it's all going. I've got a mixture of light up ones and non-light up ones for no reason. It's just what I happen to have to hand, because I've been sent a bunch of light up cables, which is very cool. And they're not too tall either, particularly the Halo ones. So they would fit in this case nicely with it closed. Not too sure about these ones, are a little bit tall, but we shall see. So I've got that sort of thing to worry about and to sort out. And of course, trying to remember not to patch it too tight so that I can't get into stuff. Lots to think about. Maybe getting the data bender in. I don't know. Well, here we go. This is Wednesday night. So, as I say, I might record a bit of a jam later and stick that on the end of here, just to see where we are at that point. And then, all being well, I'll see you either Thursday night in the Rumsey Wells, possibly Friday night in Norwich, because who knows what's happening there. And then Saturday, Synth East. Oh my golly, I can't believe it's upon us. It's both exhilarating and absolutely terrifying. But hey, there's an awful lot of things in the air that have to come together from various places in various ways, with all sorts of people looking after it. And everybody in their own little way has been awesome and is bringing together this stuff. I mean, people are flying in from Europe, for heaven's sake, which is amazing. Totally mind-boggling that that's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm feeling really excited, nervous. I've got to iron some shirts. Hopefully it will just all come together and I won't end up thrown up on stage or something. That would be bad. Let's just assume that's not going to happen. Let's go with that. So cool. And yeah, we'll have a live stream on the Sunday night, all being well, unless I'm just knackered and just can't be bothered to do anything. But I will let you know. I'll throw something up in the afternoon to announce that will happen. There won't be any live streaming, I don't think, at the event, but I will be capturing as much as I can, and I'll be putting that up sometime next week, I should think, all being well. So cool. All right, Wednesday night, 3 more sleeps. Great. So, something's going on. I'll probably better go and cook the tea. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.